Huh. Is it now? Thanks, AI system. Okay. Hmm. Everyone.
Yeah, yes, Judge.
Welcome in. This is just a live stream, or kind of a live stream, sort of. It was going to be. Now it's just a recording on Zoom video with Sue and I here
Mm.
to just really be talking about anything, just having a conversation together, whatever comes to our mind that we'd like to just shine some light into, and maybe just bring a clarity to, and or like something to like to move or to shift. Maybe there's something new that we learn that can help us all evolve and grow and heal in some way, or bring some sort of
Yeah,
illumination and a sparking and awakening of something inside of you. So, well,
yeah, hi. Thanks for letting me hang out with you. I really
so happy to be
appreciate
here.
it. So, one of the things we were talking about was like our connection, with each other. And they call it the cosmic string, cosmic web, and stuff like that. But I think it's more in a mist fog form, which is also still has some sort of a cord and connection with each other. But it's blanketed the entire planet along with the rest of the galaxy and universe. So what it is that's it's sort of like a string and a mist together, if you will, but it's energy and electric. I don't know how else to explain it, but that's how we are allowed to do remote viewing. That allows us to implement certain energies when we want to raise our vibration on the planet, and we all think collectively, and it pumps that particular type of energy form into our planet to achieve whatever it is we want to achieve. And a good example is somebody that we know that actually had a wedding, and it was set for a hurricane that day. But the day before, all of the wedding attendees were asked to think of us having a sunny day, clear skies and everything, and we all did. And the hurricane never came. It was a beautiful wedding day. So, and we have the ability to be able to manifest whatever we need to, especially as a collective consciousness.
That's a really,
Uh,
really great thing to bring up first. Thank you. This is awesome. I am, yeah, absolutely. We do thoroughly. We have that like as a collective, as a whole, and as an individual in every way. Like, I mean, obviously, like if we have to individually, then we can combine that, enhance, and then like advance the kind of consciousness, energetic output. The power, the just the which just equates to the energy we're putting out. But yeah, that's really, really cool to hear that with, especially like just when you're doing it in group spaces, and it's something that like you desire for like the highest good of something you're doing together is like when nature or when like spirit and with the earth like responds to that intention. And it is also simultaneously, I feel like it's what opens us up in connection to each other to really believe it and to really know that we can do that and just like set that intention and really open up for that reality to unfold. Because when we connect together when we have those similar intentions and desires, like I feel like it's amplified and just also increases our opening our heart to want to really believe something is true. I guess just to say a little bit differently. Sometimes we can have trouble with that alone, even though we can kind of do that. We can do the same things individually as well, but it just comes down to you. Can you really just open up and do it and really connect in with the earth and really believe that you can really know that you can do it? Really open up in like a pure resonant connection with source, with spirit,
yeah.
and just let it pour through. So I've experienced this type of thing a lot as well when it either with groups or individually when it comes to weather specifically too. Like sometimes there were times when friends and I were gathering to go to certain locations for grid work and just land connection at a sacred site. And then I'd start connecting with the earth, with the atmosphere, with the weather, and just asking it to clear because it just started raining. Like it just started super pouring. And I was like, oh man, we should need to have this clear so we can just be out on the grounds. And immediately, as we did, it was or as I started to do it, and my friends that were with me as we were traveling there, it all just started clearing up, and just like around the whole zone, it became like perfectly sunny. It was great. And like what that equates to too is just like if you've ever seen like technologies like ripe generators or orgone generators or tensor rings and things like that that can have effects on the atmosphere and in the environment. Essentially, I mean, we are that. Our bodies are that, right? Our bodies are that, those orgone generators, those consciousness field generators that when we kind of align ourselves correctly, especially with our heart and opening up to like that truer soul of us, then we can really connect in an honest, pure way and have like a relational connection cross like outside like beyond our body into other aspects of reality and nature, and just like start to work in harmony together and speak to each other, and how we can like shift things if it's an agreement for like the whole in like a harmony in a way that actually is still a benefit for everything. That's what I found with like that kind of weather work too, is like, can you do it in a way that's much more beneficial, that's still beneficial for the environment, like still beneficial for nature, where it's not just like, oh, we're going to change this because we need it as humans. Just like, okay, can we do this for a short time and clear the space, and then like, let weather to move in its own way afterward, or whatever, like coming to a sort of like harmony and agreement with it is what I found. That's just what's always called for in everything that we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, the connection's really, really strong, and a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, you've heard times where you had thought about somebody, and a few seconds later, they ended up being the one calling you.
Hmm.
These are, we're all connected more than we realize, but everybody blankets it with the word coincidence or something like that. Oh, it's just a coincidence. You were thinking about that person and they just happen to call you, and there is no coincidence. There is connections, and we all just had that. And by the way, that's my daughter, Cora, that you just saw there a few minutes ago.
Oh, hey, Cora. I haven't seen her in so many years. I've seen you once
Yeah.
before. Hey, hi, Cora. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like almost 6 years ago now, almost.
Yeah, yeah, she's grown, but that's what happens when you feed them. Um, uh, so, aw, sweetie, thank you. So,
Thank you, Cora, for being on.
oh yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for letting me. And yeah, I let her do things that that resonates with her. I don't believe in molding her and shaping her the way I want her to be. I mean, yes, I teach her manners and things like that, but other than that, I've seen so many parents that stand there and they daydream about how they want their kids to be lawyers, doctors, astronauts, you name it. And I don't do that with her. She'll be whatever she ends up being when she grows up, Um, and I just believe that, she gets to do what she wants. Right now, she likes making portals. I'm not stopping her. As long as she doesn't disappear, I told her if you go in one, make sure you know how to turn around and come back.
Yeah, that's actually a cool thing to get into. Have you ever like
Yeah.
done or connected more with your astral self, or had like any lucid dream experiences of going through portals or meeting or finding them or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, she kind of just makes her own, I guess, in a way. I don't know what she's doing because I never go through with her, but she just kind of
Mm.
just she started using a hula hoop to make the doorway. So she doesn't do that anymore. So she kind of moved on from that. So I mean, it's just I just let her explore where she needs to spiritually because we all have our way of doing things. It's the same thing with meditation. No two people are going to meditate the same way,
Yeah.
No two people are going to talk to the universe the same way or even talk to God, source, the same way. We all have our style of doing it, if you will, our way of doing it, and it's our energy, you know. And
Yes.
so it's even though our energies are also different, our energies are like fingerprints. Our aura patterns are like fingerprints, your aura patterns different than mine. The colors, what colors you have, and how wide each band is, and where they sit, on you, it's completely different than mine, and that it's just how we all are, but it just corresponds to also the level that we're on as well.
Hmm.
So and it's just that a lot of people have these expectations of how other people should be with each other, and I say that we are all on our own path, and there's more than one roads to get where you need to go, so we're all going to end up in the same place at some point or another, you know.
Yes, definitely. I love everything you just said. I really love that Cora is exploring making portals, though. Like, that's just so cool to hear. And thank you for sharing about it. She's,
Mm.
yeah, show that's just like a perfect thing to do at such an age and to be learning and growing with that so early on. I love it. I But you're so right. Like that really blows my mind and like actually opens everything up for me where it's like, wow, the energy body, the aura being its own fingerprint, its own signature. And it's true because our energies are, it's exactly our unique own signature. It's true. So therefore, like we can connect with nature, connect with each other in very different ways, and that's why we connect with each other in such different ways beyond anything. Just because of our soul signature and our aura signature and like fingerprint of like what's going on in the energy body, what's going on in the consciousness, like our whole full spectrum mind and like body beingness is different. How then we can connect and find a harmony with each other, and so therefore it's the same with how we connect with the universe, connect with God is it comes through in a very specific like lens, like kind of like perspective of the energies traveling through a system, and it just makes its own way through in like a kaleidoscopic geometric landscape as the energy like moves through to like make it through into your body, into your conscious mind is what I feel like in a way. And it's such a beautiful thing. Like we literally are just like kaleidoscopic tapestries of geometry of pure consciousness of creation in our own way. We really are individually, and yet
Yeah.
like we add to the whole beyond just ourselves and like unity, in the collective field. We are adding to that whole tapestry. Like we're supposed to really be through like a greater state of coherency and like a cleanliness of mind, a cleanliness of our energy bodies to come into our truest selves more so that we can add to that collective for this beautiful whole tapestry, like like geometric quilt is it's kind of the ways I like to see it, but really just like all those patterns adding together and creating this whole unity mandala, tapestry that we ourselves hold in our individuality. We're meant to be doing that in a way where it's like supporting the actual growth and like the healthful flow of source consciousness energy and earth energy through the collective body, through the collective energy field, so that we can all connect in and receive that and in a very clear, much more clear and open way. Whereas like it may be hard for a lot of people nowadays just because like yes, there's been like all the corruption in the energy fields and the grids and manipulation of people's psyches and consciousnesses, the energy body itself. But in the past, yeah, it was much more clear certain times in the past where like ancient times, thousands of years ago, where we had more of that like coherency with the earth, coherency with source. And I feel like a lot of us now in this greater awakening now, as more awakening or more people are like really doing the inner work of healing, of clarifying and like coming into their true selves more, we're adding into that, beginning to open the fields more for people to connect in with those energies.
Yeah, well, the pendulum is swinging the other way now,
Right.
and I totally resonate with the idea of the quilt because each one of us is going to be a different pattern. But when you step back and look at a quilt, there's a lot of people when you see all these squares getting put together, and it kind of looks messy. It looks like it's chaotic and all that. But when you stand back and look at the quilt, you're like, my goodness, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So. So it's very, very similar to that, and so it's just that it's just that a lot of people are so bent on emphasizing how they need to be, or I need to measure up with this person. Like they're so focused on benchmarks. The whole benchmark thing needs to disappear, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because we shouldn't compare ourselves with the other person, and we shouldn't put benchmarks on ourselves or other people. I think that we should actually just focus on how can I be better than I was yesterday. Not how can I be better than this person standing next to me or level up or something. It's not a contest, you
Hmm.
know. This is something that we need to work on ourselves, on what we need to learn to do, whatever it is that we are asked to do by the universe. We all have different assignments. We're kind of like our own agents, if you will. We're being assigned something, and we have a mission to fulfill. And when we're done, we'll be given another assignment and another mission. So that's how we work and level up on ourselves. But we can't level up just by looking at somebody else and saying, "Oh, let me see what I can do to get above that person." That's not the expectation that Source has asked us to do. Source has asked us to work on ourselves, whatever it is that we need to work on. And how you can tell what you need to work on is what's bothering you the most. It's nagging you.
Yes.
It's pestering you every day. So that's exactly what you need to work on. You're always going to be told. You have your own instruction manual. A lot of times people don't want to read it. We do come with our own instruction manual, and I'm not even talking about the human design chart or anything. We have it
Right.
up here. We have it up here, and we have that instruction manual, and we just don't want to listen to it. We'd rather have some outside person say, okay, today you're going to be doing this, and you're going to be studying that, and you're going to be reading up on this, and this is where you're going to do to heighten your vibration.
Hmm.
And so we need to learn to go in and listen to ourselves.
We do. We absolutely do. Yeah, that was so
Excuse
beautifully
me.
well said. I resonate with that entirely. It's so true. Like we literally do like that. I've been aware of that too for a long time. You follow the internal instruction manual. Like you just listen to your heart and exactly why you're here and what you need to do. Listen to your heart, listen to what's in your mind, listen to what's in your body. Like what do you need to do now? What's the next right step? Like what feels of the truth and like the actual thing that nourishes you, like that nourishes you, that nourishes others and everyone around you, is that builds you up to be the greater version of yourself every moment, every day. Totally. Like it's not a competition. Like that's been coming up in my reality recently again about like competition or comparing to others because I found myself a little bit doing that here and there again, which then reminded me like no, like come back into your true self. What are you actually doing? What do you need to work on? Is just about feeling the way to clear the pathway really for your true self and your soul's light to be embodied and to shine through. And then what is the steps to be taking in the external world to be giving whatever it is here you're here to give? Like what do you need to be doing? What's the assignment indeed? Like what do we actually, that's another thing too in itself. Like, can we tune in and discover like what the assignment as a whole is, or at least like some of the next stage floor plans that we need to like integrate and build in ourselves and build in the outside world? Or can we just really tune in and feel, okay, what do I need to do in this moment? Where do I need to go? How can I express? Like, all of that is just leading to develop our intuition, and the intuition is really just the speaking of our soul. So it's like the sensorial intelligence of our soul that speaks through our heart, that speaks through our minds when we just listen and let that pour through our body, and our body responds by showing us exactly like what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what feels right with our hearts, what really lights us up and gives us energy and life force is like the indicator that you're doing something right or you're doing something wrong, like on course or off of course, essentially. So it's like that's all we really need to do. It's like the inner work regarding like clearing the blockages and like loving on and healing those places in us to bring them back to that home frequency. If you feel like there's part of your psyche that's just out of alignment with that core frequency, that's out of alignment with that truth that you know to follow, that original template and outline for this life.
Yeah.
Maybe that brings up some thoughts of like free will or something, or maybe, or not free will. Yes, there is, always free will simultaneously. There's the predetermined creation that you as a soul and with God and with your guides and family and other dimensions have created before this life and then downloaded just into your soul. So then you're bringing that into this body that you've chosen because it's someone that's going to be most optimal for you in this life to complete the mission. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what the body is, doesn't matter what the mission is. You've chosen this body because it's going to be the most effectual for you. You know, you're going to be working through some blockages in yourself or things to heal in yourself pertaining to your family genetic lineage that can completely shift that aspect of the collective humanity by like healing what's in your family genetics and lineage inside of you now that transforms your body and transform the consciousness and energy connection through your family. And then also then what you're bringing beyond that just in the work itself that affects the rest of humanity and helps them to also begin to go through the healings of the upgradings, you know? So it's like our lives are perfect, you know, our bodies are perfect. And it's just if we
And yeah,
can,
a lot of people think they're not perfect, you
right.
know. They spend more time uh trying to, I guess, perfect it in other ways that they don't need to, like beauty or something like that, outer beauty, makeup, look, and hairs, and God, plastic surgery. I think that's a total waste of your
Oh
time. You
my
know, it's
God.
crazy. It's amazing what people put their energies into, and there's nothing wrong with working on yourself, and I mean in a natural, good way.
Hmm.
Meditation, changing your diets, what you need to do, or drinking more water and less junk. It's just that a lot of people find it selfish to put so much time on yourself, like have me time or something, and they put it on other people. But you have to think of it this way: if you want me to help you push your cart, my legs have to work. If I broke my leg, I can't do the job to help you push your cart for you.
Hmm.
So I have to heal my leg first in order to be able to walk, and I have to do therapy. Once I be able to walk and do strong tea, I have to work on myself in order to be able to help you do what you need me to help you to do. For whether it's for the good of just you or the community or whatever. So that's why it's important for you to work on yourself first and help yourself. And that's not being selfish, because it would be more selfish if you didn't work on yourself. Because if I decided not to let my leg heal and I sit on my bum for God knows how long, I'm not helping you, I'm not helping the community. So that's more selfish. So it's more
Yeah.
beneficial for you to work on yourself so that you can be there for others when needed.
100%. Oh my God. Yeah. A lot of the time, people who are very service oriented just like forget to fill their own cup, you know, or like fill
Yeah,
their own cup with their own light and own life force and
exactly.
own creative energies and actually take care of themselves in a way that help them perform the things they want to serve with, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, as simple as that. We
Yeah.
gotta do that and we can't just like overextend when that's not applicable.
Yeah. So that we forget to do the me time. We forget to, connect with nature. And a lot of times there's just people out there that I have talked to that don't want to go outside because for whatever reason, some say mosquitoes is number one. I'm actually convinced that mosquitoes are actually not a natural form of bugs. But if it weren't for them, going outside would be much easier. I don't know if it was there to keep everybody indoors. Yeah, that's just my little speculation. But still,
Hmm. I
but
like that.
still, yeah. But still, gotta get out more, and connect with nature, because that's where we're going to get our downloads a lot of times and energies from. Because especially, they say you sit next to a tree, lean against it, and sometimes you'll get downloads, because trees out there have been there forever. They're all connected at the bottom of the roots, and they've all talked to each other.
Hmm.
And every time a baby tree is born, if you will, and starts growing up, it connects with the rest of the tree community, if you will, and it will learn all the generational stuff along with it. And so, and it's the same thing with us. If we're taught whatever great 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 grandma, granddad is taught, it gets passed down to us, but we get the verbal stuff. They get more of the energy version of it. Not to say that trees don't talk, they do. They actually have their own language. And those are lucky enough that can hear it and understand it. But, they do communicate with each other generationally. And if you see a younger tree next to a much older tree, you will see that the younger tree kind of lean towards ish to the older tree. A lot of if you, next time you go out on a walk, take a look at how the trees are somewhat bent towards each other. Which way are they leaning? Because they may appear to be standing straight and tall, but they are leaning slightly. And pay attention which direction they're leaning. And they say, oh, it has to do with the sun. That may have to do with their branches and their leaves and things, but I'm talking about the entire trunk of the tree. You can see which way it's going, and that's who the area of that particular tree is communicating with. That's just how they do it. They just lean forward. I don't know why it's a thing.
Mhm.
So sometimes nature will push them in that direction too, but most of the time it's their way of communicating. So this is one of the things I've gotten when I've sat down and hung out with the trees. They would kind of tell me how they do things. Like they prefer to be told about 48 hours in advance notice, a couple days notice before you decide to chop them down. Please tell them, because I mean, that way they can push their energies down and go into other parts, I guess, of the tree community, if you will, so that they don't feel the pain of you chopping them down. They don't appreciate it any more than we do having an axe wheeled. We don't want an axe wheeled to us any more than they do, you know.
Right.
So, so it's just like we have to have that connection with nature in order to have that common courtesy with nature. And I know that's a big, level up to a lot of people because we were taught from National Geographics, that's also indoctrination, believe it or not, and,
Hmm.
all kinds of other TV shows that kind of tries to tell us how nature works. And it's not really exactly what we've seen on TV and YouTube. It's a little more complicated and yet easier than that at the same time.
It's true. Gosh, yeah, all of that. Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, that's so key. I think one of the few of the keyest things here that you just mentioned was like, yeah, before cutting down a tree, we thoroughly have to like connect and communicate, or really doing anything, even if we're harvesting fruit or if we're building something on the land around the tree and the other
Yeah,
trees. I think it's important to thoroughly connect in with the land and the trees, even if you have no
yeah,
idea how to do that, and just like open your heart, give a willing try, silence yourself and listen. Really, I'll like imagine and feeling yourself connect with the land and with the trees to ask permission if it's okay you do anything on that. Like
yeah,
it's so crucial because that will help everything to be in a thorough harmony, in a peace and a union, like a co-resonance together. Because if we just build anything into place without doing that, it could stir up some energies, some spirits that will rise out of the land or out of the trees that have a problem with you just randomly doing something, and that's what causes a lot of like sometimes poltergeist or like spirit ghost hauntings and
yeah,
stuff like that. And wow, like that's just the thing that's just so important. And so like yeah, especially when cutting down a tree too, like is it okay to the rest of the trees and with this tree that we do this because we're building this thing and we want to know if there's permission, same with the land to build that thing. So it's like that's what we need to return to more, that's what we need to remember. And us speaking about it here hopefully is helping somebody spark a feeling or a sensation or some kind of awareness or remembrance or something about it, because it's if we look around in the world, we see how much like humanity, like within the whole like manipulation false matrix system has just permeated across the planet, and it's like put things here and there everywhere willy-nilly without regard most of the time about it. And yet sometimes certain people at certain levels of like those corporations or companies do have awareness of those things, but they just do it anyway. Because they just like push through and they're trying to expand whatever. And they're actually sometimes in those industries want some of that negative energy stirred up in order to like add that into the charging manipulation that they're putting upon humanity in the lands. So that's also a thing too for them. But at the same time, we don't want that. No, that's not what any
yeah,
of us want anymore. So it's like we see all this and it's like, okay, well, we feel the reason like a lot of this negative energy or a lot of the, sorry, energy that's just like out of harmony or like out of regulation and a healthful connection around us, there's a lot of times because of that, and like how much we've messed with the environment in the aspect of it being out of respect or out of honor. So that is something that when we do the inner work inside of us just begins to awaken this feeling and this knowing of that, and how we can not only honor ourselves and our own bodies but then begin to take that to the nature around us and to people around us thoroughly in just such a reverent regard, and like actually start to do things more in accordance that can physically and energetically start to palpably bring a change and shift to a harmony, you know?
Yeah, I mean, who are we to actually say who's got the higher vibration? Because the matrix has taught us that we are at the top of the food chain, so we're all the all powerful ones, and we can mow over the trees, the plants, and the animals, and we have all the say and stuff. And I disagree with that. In my opinion, I think we're all kind of, level up along with the rest of nature. And here's a prime example that I saw one time. I guess a lady was giving the squirrel some food or something like that, or whatever. I don't know what she was entirely doing, but the squirrel came back like a day later with a cookie in exchange for what the lady did for the squirrel.
Uh-huh.
So that's a pretty high vibration, connection right there. For a squirrel, you would go, that you're an animal, you're a lower, lesser being,
Yeah.
you don't know anything. But that's not true,
Not
because
true.
if the squirrel actually understands currency,
Hmm.
and energy exchange, that's pretty good there. And I've seen even David Wilcock has shown an example of that when he gave chicken pieces to the squirrel, and the squirrel kind of came back and gave him a pine cone to, as a currency, thank you for it. And
Hmm.
also that he put some the bones on the brick or whatever, and he was like saying, "I want more of that." That was good. That was good chicken. And so it's just that. I don't really believe that there's such as a higher, lesser, or lower. I mean, yes, there may be a physical intelligence, but physical intelligence is not what it's cracked up to be. We're talking about that you have the ability to talk, you have the ability to do math, we have the ability to build a house, and that's the physical intelligence, but then there's the spiritual intelligence. We have no idea the spiritual intelligence of any animal, tree, plant, bug. We don't know, and we can only guess that they seem to have a lot, because if a plant is able to be put on trial to witness who the murderer is,
Hmm.
if you ever heard that story, in a
Yeah.
flower shot, there's a plant and somebody got murdered. And if a plant is actually willing to point out who the murderer is by having some sort of an action when they hooked it up to a polygraph machine, and the plant reacted when the murderer was in the room. So that's right there. It tells you the consciousness and intelligence of the spiritual intelligence, not just physical intelligence, but spiritual intelligence of nature. Right
Hmm.
there. That's proof. So that's another example.
Yeah, it's another example of the unity, the interconnectedness of everything, right? Exactly. Like it's just everything always is. And like that's such a beautiful one too. I feel like you could probably, I mean, a psychic or like somebody with their senses open, able to connect in to see things internally like that, or using a sort of technology if you wanted to, you could probably connect to that plant and actually produce images of what it, saw in the environment as well if we wanted to. I just feel like probably do that. So that's really cool to hear. And I've had similar, I know that story with David Wilcock and the squirrel. I've heard that
Yeah.
before a while ago.
Yeah.
But I've had similar experiences with squirrels too, like that, where they literally were asking me for food in a park. Like I was connecting with them for a moment, like they were just really close to me. It's like, oh, that's so sweet, you're so close. And then I could see them, they were literally doing like sign language, like, do you have food? Do you have food for me? I was like, no, buddy, I'm sorry, I don't. Like I knew exactly what he was like. It was so cute. And then they came up to me after that, and I was able to just connect, and they like touched my hand and whatnot. It was cute, but
Yeah. I like squirrels actually, but
mm,
and they're very intelligent. But they do have currency and energy exchange.
hmm.
So it makes you question how many other animals do. We know that fairies also do that as well. If you're at a high enough vibration level and you leave fruits out and stuff for them, they can pay you back in flower petals and things like that as well. So there
Hmm.
are energy exchange and currency exchange happening all over. It's not just us humans, as to put it. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's just that you have to be able to pay attention to it and be able to be tuned in on it. But look what TV and video games has done to us.
Hmm.
And so it muddies everything up, and it just makes it hard for us to kind of wipe away the cobwebs of what we are supposed to
Hmm.
really see. And so it's a very daunting task for a lot of us spiritual people to help others kind of wipe
Hmm.
away the cobwebs and say, well, how about look at it this way, you know? And and there's just sometimes some people get frightened to look at it that way because the program in the Matrix had said, don't go there, don't touch that subject, don't mess with that. That's just not your territory. But it is our territory, and we have every right to mess with whatever we want to learn. You know?
Yeah, right. We do have a right to explore and experiment and discover anything that we need to help with our evolution and growth in the right like ethics of doing that and being that. And like I just love
Yeah.
that you I love that you just bring up
Well, they like to strengthen our ego side, which is not what you're supposed to be strengthening.
hmm right. It's like, no, it's not right. And I love that because it's like you're supposed to be strengthening the spiritual intelligence really first. I agree. So that just like, at least that's how I think it, because it's just, it helps everything else to develop along that trajectory,
Yeah.
along like what is original spirit, what is source, what is nature, what is that intelligence for everything and that interconnectedness. And then it helps you to develop all the other aspects of intelligence. And like, so like that's just the thing is like spiritual intelligence, spirituality is just an intelligence. It's just an aspect of our consciousness. It really is just something that we all need to start seeing that it is just a part of our body and part of our being and part of our consciousness, our mind, and like so developing that and developing emotional intelligence, mental intelligence, and energetic intelligence, which are kind of interlinked in some way with the like emotional and energetic, especially, and then also of course spiritual, but like and then recognize like where are the points inside of us that we need more of a harmony, we need more of an energization, or like we feel like we're missing a sort of connection or something that we could be in a greater form of ourselves, which usually comes down to that spiritual intelligence. I feel like where people feel like they're missing something inside of themselves that helps them with their greater growth or like freedom and continual expansiveness of their being. It comes down to like as that foundation of spiritual intelligence, I feel like.
Do you think it's possible that it's not so much as missing, but so much
Mm.
as one of the chakras is just not aligned or lit up or powered up enough, if you will?
Yeah, actually, that too.
Instead
100%.
of, actually missing, but it's more like dim. I don't know if we want to call it. To me, I guess I see it as dimmed down or lit up, and that's
hmm
just my mind of how I see it. It's the
hmm
same thing when I see people's auras. There's people's auras are a certain width. There's certain colors. Some colors are brought forth more than others, and are wider than others, and that just tells where you are on your spiritual journey. In my opinion, it's kind of, and those who can see ours can tell where the person is, and I guess it tells what you need, it could possibly work on. So in my opinion, when your chakras are not lit up, then you're only going to get missing information, if you will. It's kind of like the Christmas lights. One bulb is out. Well, you've seen how that works. You know, um, but the difference is not everything goes out just because one goes out. It's just that the rest of them is going to have to haul a little bit harder to kind of try to make up. So we can have chakras that are working, I guess, a little more overtime, if you will, to kind of compensate for the one that's dim. So that's
hmm
why, there's people out there that have a really lit up, throat chakra, but maybe there's your sacral chakra is not lit up. You're going to be talking a lot more, and about certain subjects that maybe the that maybe not resonate with other people.
hmm
So it's so it has to. I think it has to do with what is you're allowing for it to be available, and what you're allowing to put energy into, and then what you're allowing to work on and make it chakras light up even more. And so that right there comes to you being able to look at each one of them. And we all have the ability to actually self diagnose ourselves.
hmm
And that's something that they don't teach in school. I really wish they would teach in school that you can self-diagnose yourself, but instead they say go to a doctor and have a doctor diagnose you. But we can diagnose ourselves. And one of the things is meditation. Meditation allows us to look at ourselves, and we can also do a like there's so many millions of meditation techniques, and one that I like to do is the round table, where I look kind of picture myself like King Arthur in the round table, and so I'm
Mm.
sitting at the 12 o'clock of the table, and I'm going to put my higher self at the 6 o'clock across from me, but I can also put all my body parts at the table too. My heart, my livers, my kidneys, my stomach, my brain, everything. And they will have their own seating. And I will ask each every one of them, are you okay? Do you need me to work on something? And I will ask. And an answer will always come.
I love that so much. I'm just totally like bewildered and just excited about it. I
Yeah,
want to
we,
try
we
doing
can
that.
actually talk to ourselves. We can actually talk to all the parts of our bodies. We can even, talk to our higher self all the time. We put our higher selves at the round table and have a discussion. You can also, with permission of the other person, you can talk to other people's higher selves, and that also helps resolve conflicts a lot of times. If I have a conflict with somebody, a negative conflict, I can talk to their higher self and tell them my opinion or what I think is going on or how I feel about something and open myself up to that because it seems to be easier. And that helps so that if you want to talk to the physical person later on about it, they're a little more receptive to listening to you instead of blowing up.
I love that. Exactly. Yeah. Because then you can foster more of that real connection and you're able to actually explore areas for them maybe that they just overlooked and just hadn't noticed or something, actually that connection to help them along. That's so great. And I just really love how you said how things were dimmed down and not missed. Like that was really helpful to reframe everything here that we're talking about because I do resonate with that. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be about exactly how I see it too. And it's really it's so simple that we can really just tune in like it always we can just make the choice to tune into our bodies, whatever we want to call it. It's meditation or other anything. It's just important to be able to establish that connection with ourselves, and that will begin to awaken our own way of sensing and seeing what needs more energy, needs more life force flow, where energies need to be clear. We'll begin to perceive energies or perceive the auric field and the chakras in our own way if we like dive into wanting to learn about what those are for a moment and then just tuning into ourselves just to pre-open that awareness from like learning about them for a second and then to really listen into ourselves and see what really comes up and arises for us, like actually naturally, intuitively within our own system, like on our own awareness. And really, like any meditation's going to bring us to that anyway, because it's just crucial. It's of
Yeah,
natural importance.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we have the power to decide what we want in and what we want to take out.
Mm,
What we want to bring in. We can bring in whatever we need to bring in, and we can take out whatever does not serve us.
yeah.
That's anything, even especially energy. And it's the problem with the matrix world is they're constantly trying to integrate negative energy. And I have said this on other channels before. That's why in sports, especially, we know that the counterclockwise motion can often translate as negative kind of feelings and emotions and stuff. And so that's why in sports, in like baseball, which way is, they're going around the base, counterclockwise.
Hmm.
There's no
Yeah.
there's no law in the universe that says you can't go clockwise if you wanted to design the sport that way. But no, they intentionally knew what they were doing and they designed the sports that way. So all the sports where they're going around in circles, it seems to be always counterclockwise. Now, why is that? You know, so that's
Hmm.
just something to look at how the design of the matrix is there to pull in the form of negativity. Plus, in any sports, there's going to be half the stadium that's going to be ticked off because their team didn't win. So this is
Yeah.
the energy collect that they do for the so-called, matrix, the masters of the matrix. They want
Mm,
to do something called suck up loose anger
mhm.
and negativity and stuff. And so, I got a sign on the outside of my window in front of my house that says, remember the three L's, lose the loose and love. So it's just that we all have to kind of get rid of the negativity. That doesn't mean just to throw it out. First, look at it. Why is
Yeah.
this, negative? Why is this making you upset? Why is this bothering you? Why is
Uh-huh.
this affecting you? And then study it, dissect it, do what you need to do with it, you know, before throwing it out. I mean, I, I like to look at dissect it. I guess I like to dissect some of the negativity that goes on because why is it bothering me? It's not just the other person. You got to look at yourself and say, why did this bother me? Why did this affect me? Why is this negative to me? And, because it has to do with you, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I know I do that a lot too. I dissect, yeah, like dive in and see what's really going on. Why is it exactly? I do the same thing quite a lot, and it's so helpful because there's actually inside, no matter what it is, negative or positive, all of it's great, all of it's of the universe, and just as things are now and the reality of what is, like what how things are now. It's just that aspect of like polarity exists. So if we embrace it and just like from a neutral point of pure unconditional love and just see what wisdom is there to be taught or to be given from it, and then like align ourselves in the way that's most highest life force giving and like amplifying and just being and ensuring that inside of us and flowing that to others, which just then brings you to like the positive polarity of aspect of things, then great, like everything, even in the negative or in the shadow, has its wisdoms, has its things to teach us always, because that's where like we really gain that because we have to, in some aspect and at some point along the ride, along the way, we really have to like be in there and figure it out. Really do have to decide, dissect, and like just feel around and figure things out, and then from there we learn a great deal, right? And then like we can move that into our hearts and just integrate what we've learned and then continue the path in the way that like brings that wisdom and
Yeah.
what we've learned embodied and then like into our world, into with each other, and to be able to like help each other along our journeys and our lives to grow, and sometimes in accelerated ways if somebody needs some little piece of wisdom that you have for where they're at because you've been there, or you just see how you can help them through, go for it, because it's always
Yeah.
going to help them like move through that, because maybe they've been stuck for a bit in that area, in that pattern, in that cycle, or in that like shadow aspect of themselves. It helps them to make that out and then to gain their own version of that wisdom and that information that will come through in that experience. It helps them to actually start to distill it, pull it through, unstick things, and like from there, that will literally start to open up the energy body and clear some like stuck areas of energy or like miasms of their own emotions and thoughts, and like help things to flow coherently. And then they can start in that aspect being free in their energy body to free their psyche and their minds, and then free them in their physical bodies to for things to move, flow and flow more healthfully, and then go forward in their lives greater, in a certain direction, whatever that was pointing to for them to go, or just integrate and apply to their lives in some way. It's so simple as that. Like
Yeah,
a
well,
lot
that's
of
the difference
people,
between wisdom and trauma.
yeah, yeah. Actually, like, did you say what's different, or that's the difference?
Yeah, no, that's the difference between wisdom and trauma. If
Hmm.
we don't do anything with it, it becomes trauma.
Yeah,
If we do
yeah,
something with it, as in, look at it, study it, figure out, why is this? What's the purpose of this? What's my lesson I'm supposed to learn? Then it becomes
uh,
wisdom. It becomes knowledge. It becomes something that we learn from. But a lot of people just let it go and let it hang somewhere in us, and it starts to become trauma. That's where the trauma's from.
yes. Oh my God, that's such a key point. Exactly. Like if we really don't do anything, yeah, like I've noticed that in my own life. If I don't do something with a certain thing I've learned or like a wisdom or knowledge, it's like, then it starts to feel like it festers a little bit and it becomes like, it becomes a trauma. Like it can
Yeah,
bring you to get stuck in your psyche and your energy flow in that
yeah,
area as it starts to become like this siphoning vortex that you've created yourself, you know?
yeah,
And then you can start, so then that's great, that's okay, that can be another lesson in itself, for you to look
yeah,
at and be with and recognize like, oh, I have all this creative power at all times where I can even create things that siphon my own life force, and therefore like it brings that same energy to the relationships and the interactions you have with other people, and it might be a little uncomfortable or unsettling sometimes with certain parts of you, like
Yeah.
therefore if we look at it we can start to recognize how can we like clear that fog of energy, how can we alter the spin vibration, because odds are it might actually be more towards that counterclockwise like you're saying, because that's
Yeah.
like siphoning, pulling in energy from external sources to supply it with
Right.
its own, and it starts to like just coagulate and collect too much like you said.
Yeah.
And so I've seen the same thing, and it's when we turn it clockwise that helps, that's like an upward spiral in a sense, outward spiral, and it starts to be able to like generate energy actually in life force and like give that out to the world and like be more of like a light and clean things up so that we're always like providing a light and a wisdom, a teaching and an energy to each other and everything and around us to help it also open up in its own flow, its own correct spin vibration that allows it to be free in its true self and offer that to the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so if we correct that, if we go into it, feel it with it, and just see what we can do to help alter that spin and correct things back into vibration, yeah, we become more whole in ourselves entirely in general. Like sometimes it's that we become more whole in ourselves because some aspects feel like if for some reason we're getting sucked into that vortex, and just getting stuck and it's forgetting like it's not flowing, so it doesn't feel like it's whole with your whole system, with your whole being. And when we correct those, we find that again. That's what I've discovered.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a closet. If you've ever opened a closet that you clutter over the years, you just do stuff in there. 10 years later, you finally open that closet and you find all the stuff spilling out on the floor. Well, you're going to go through with it. Well, when you go through the items, you look at each one of them and you're like, why did I keep that? Oh, that's, I guess baseball tickets remind me of the good times I had with so and so, such and such. Oh, why did I keep my old report card from sixth grade? It had all F's. Why did I get all F's? I mean, I'm just saying that there's stuff in our closets. And when we have, our spiritual closet too, and we collect it. And if we didn't, if we were not raised on the spiritual timeline, if you will, if we didn't have parents that taught us to, align our chakras or taught us to look at ourselves and all that stuff and deal with our emotions and traumas and process them, it's going to collect until you learn that these things exist. And when you learn that it exists, then there's closet cleaning out time. I mean, it's going to take a while. It's not going to be an overnight thing, and you're probably not even going to get it done in 1 year either. There's people that have worked well into 20 to 15, 30, 60 years just trying to clean out their closet, and it's a lot of work, but you have to do the work though.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do. However long it takes, things are meant to unfold in their own right time. And that's a wisdom in itself to fully honor, I feel. Like
Yeah.
sometimes we can push energy along and help to accelerate things, but it's still at the same time is only according to exactly where we are at in our actual embodiment, where we are at in our clarity of our minds, our psyches, and like the meridians in our bodies or the chakra system for the energy to flow and actually be a proportionate match to the thing we're trying to like push towards being or creating or like manifesting in the world or something. Like things have their own time. So
Yeah.
sometimes healing does take that long. Sometimes it can be quick too if we're also able to like be right with it in a very deep, very connected, very honest, open and way of integrity in that connection to process and move through it in that moment, like in a sort of rapid sense, but really just a large degree of it to move through. And then at the same time, because if we do things faster like that, there'll be probably a large integrational period afterward, and you'll have to like
Yeah.
really let things settle in, and then itself still going to take time. So it's really whatever's like actually and correct, healthful flow for your whole being and your whole system to come together, for like this shift in embodiment that comes through healing. That also then, as we heal or as we integrate things, we're called to like in some way intuitively and just spontaneously, or else in a way maybe you know and you can plan for and doing that you feel you've been called for, you can apply it into your world, like apply it in action into your world in some way to like integrate this returning of yourself home inside, or like this new wisdom and this new learning and this freeing of yourself, in some aspects when it comes to healing.
Yeah, and be gentle with yourself. I think everybody just needs to be gentle with themselves. There's the Matrix has taught you that this is a contest, that your life it has to be measured up in a benchmark with other people. You are exactly enough, and you are exactly where you need to be. If you would needed to be somewhere else, you'd be somewhere else. In your spiritual journey. So why are you here? You're here because you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And you will get to where you need to be. Believe it or not, I know there's no such thing as time, but I say you'll need to be where you need to be on time. It always works. It always works out. But we're always so concerned about benchmarks. We're always concerned about, trying to speed it up. Let's get to this ascension as quickly as possible. It's not a
Yeah,
race. It's not a contest.
it's not.
You know, Nature doesn't even do this contest thing. Why should we? You know?
Yeah, so true. It never does. It's always according to its own divine timing, you could say. Like
Yeah.
it's funny to tune into that. Like now I'm just feeling and seeing like, oh, like does time exist? What is it? Is it a real thing? I mean, we just conceptualize and try to measure like the passing and flow of energies in a cycle. Like the passing flow of energies in cycles, and just as things develop and change and shift is what like
Yeah.
we're creating concept of time as, because like
Yeah, like, hurry up. I need an escalator to 5D. I want to take the escalator. I don't want to take the stairs.
right.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Mhm. It's
It
true.
doesn't
Yeah,
work that way,
some
unfortunately.
I know it doesn't. Does
Yeah.
not. You can't skip the steps, like I mean
Yeah.
you can try to skip steps all you want and maybe you'll learn a little something, but you're gonna have to like still be put back to whatever you're meant to actually learn that helps that to be like truly integrated. Whatever you like jump to and start learning, okay, you can learn a bit of it actually if you skip a little, but then you have to go back to learn the thing that was before that in order to help it actually graft into your being, like
That sounds more time consuming.
yeah, I'd say. I mean, I think it can work. I feel like I don't know. Does it really work like that? I feel like I've kind of done that
I don't
sometimes, but
I
at the
don't
same
know, but
time,
I would think it's like, I mean, I'm a cook, okay? And
mm,
I would think it's like a recipe. If I skip a step, then this cake is not going to turn out the way you want it to.
right.
It's not going to be as good, or it's going to flop, or the center's going to cave in, or whatever. If I skip any of the steps, or if I skip any of the ingredient, not even so much the step, but it's the ingredients. This is why the universe has put our past because into the trajectory that we are in our lives, because we need these ingredients in us in order to put us where we need to be, and
Yeah.
everybody is different, you know. So I really think that whatever path we individually are on, we can't skip anything, because
Hmm.
you want the final product to be a certain way, then we have to allow certain things to happen in order for it to come to that.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
absolutely agree.
that's why, when we were given these questions when we were growing up, well, if you could go back in time and erase maybe one bad event in your life, what would it be? But that bad event was one of the ingredients that made you who you are today.
Hmm.
You know, so it's just, it's we can't take anything in our life. Our life is exactly matched up to the way it needs to be. You know, and it's like a puzzle pieces. Have you ever put a puzzle together? Some of the pieces look weird.
Hmm.
They don't look like a normal puzzle piece. They were cut all odd and looks kind of ugly maybe. And there's all these different pieces. And when you put them together, the puzzle together, and you stand back, you get this beautiful picture. So it's kind
Exactly.
of like that with our lives. We're going to have some pieces that are not cool looking, jaggedy, maybe awkward, weird, you know, maybe it's something we don't like, but it's all there for a purpose, then that's what makes you you.
Yeah. It's so true. That right there is like the most perfect core principle of standard spirituality or standard like true development of a of an individual right there. Like it's just that's like the main ingredient to bring all of those ingredients together is to recognize that all the ingredients and everything that you experience is that, it is the whole. It is completely included and inclusive for your whole developmental journey. It's so simple as that. So I agree, you really can't skip steps because it's just you're always going to have to like go the one after the next indeed step and ingredient to actually bring yourself whole healthfully whole together and to have like that final product, which there pretty much isn't ever there's never a final product, but you always
Yeah,
keep growing
there's
and keep.
never a final end product. I mean, it's always changing and growing. I mean, it's I remember, it's like plants. We look at it. Oh, the flower bloomed. Good, it's done. No, it's not because it can keep going.
Mhm.
The flower petals can fall off and new flowers can emerge and stuff. So it's never ending. We're the same way. We're
Mhm.
like plants with a lot of complexities. We need sunlight. We need water. We need love. We need all sorts of elements and stuff like that, and nutrients and
Mhm.
stuff. We're just like plants, with a complex exterior and interior, if you will.
Yeah,
So
right,
ever
exactly.
changing and growing, so some of us are open up better at night and in daytime and stuff, and vice versa. So yeah, we're like plants. I always thought so. I mean, when I lay around the house, I'm a vegetable. So
Right. Uh, yeah, it's so true though. Like we really are. Like everything is the same and just reflects itself in different forms and how that takes. So I've always seen it too. Like it's just yeah, there's different density and like consciousness levels of like vibration of like where things are at and their base in the consciousness, and then just like the bodies that are just perfectly proportionate in order to house that for the evolutionary journey. But at the same time, we all operate the same still. Like, there's still those various same aspects of the energy bodies that kind of display themselves differently in different geometries or different ways that things flow within the energy system and then within so that it can connect in with their physicality. And it's just but in essence we do operate kind of the same. Like obviously plants have emotions as we talked about before. They all have their own emotions and feelings, but they really like have that arise from like the pure presence of the moment and exactly like what's just there, especially plants, because like you're saying, the trees, they're rooted in, they're always there, they're always
yeah,
sensing and feeling that place in a very still, slowed down way. Like they're
yeah,
just uh, reading and feeling everything, and they're just like at this, I feel like, always space of like stillness and like quietness, but they're able to still communicate when and how that arises so perfectly naturally intelligently in their bodies, so
yeah,
perfectly naturally intelligent from their soul, and how that's meant to speak through to their environment and to like uplift and provide growth and nourishment for the world around them. And it's like, so us as humans have the capacity to do the same thing. And in actual honesty, we always are. Like
yeah,
sometimes it could be more nourishing, sometimes it could be less nourishing, depending on what's going on in our systems. Like if we're blocking ourselves in our own pure soul and life force to flow in its coherency, or if we're like stuck in the ego, stuck in like those personalities that like are limiting and holding ourselves back from that flow, which is always there and trying to just do that, and trying to remind us to come back to that heart and that center, and how then everything we're doing is constantly having a feedback and mirror and reflect to show us like where we can improve or like what we need to look at inside for healing or for a greater unity and bringing back home to that soul, where we can like and quote unquote master ourselves to just come into that remembrance of unity and like trusting the natural inherent intelligence of our whole bodies, like of our soul. And like in that we have like that whole greater like streaming in of source intelligence itself that is within everything and interconnected in this, because our soul is a spark fractal of everything, spark fractal of God. So when we open to that more, it's just we start to bring in this connection beyond our individual soul that is connecting to all souls, and therefore like inside those souls that the bodies that they are connected with their bodies, and we can start to actually feel like those plants what's going on in our environments more and be more receptive of how we can like lead ourselves and the things we can do that help the whole around us in local environments. And like it does just start with the energy body. It does just start with like what you're embodying in the energy body and how that's like translating over to your physical body and in its construction, like in its structure, in its like state of health and being. And like just that itself, when we've like gotten something down, we've really learned something and we've really distilled the energy and consciousness essence of it, and we pull that into our systems and like in its own natural way of like it just starts to integrate into us. It's not like we have to actively pull something in, but you can do that too in meditation for like connecting with God or spirit or nature elements and energies to like understand and open your mind in some way, kind of like open and like pull on the energy, pull it in, and then just like let it be and let that receptivity go back to the thing and between you so you can just like open that channel of awareness in some sense. That's Qigong does that. But in essence, it's like when you really distill it into your body, it becomes a part of you, and wherever you are, you're like bringing that data, that information, that energy in your being, and you're reminding others of the same, and it changes our state of being within the energy body and the physical body just by being around each other. There's this constant communication going on, there's constant exchange going on, and whether you're aware of it or not, it's always there.
Yeah, that's why they call it vibration. Same thing when you play with your, hand piano and you got this music thing going. Um, it speaks to it. You're actually activating different chakras when you play, and that's why music can be healing because when it hits a certain note, you're hitting a certain sound wave hertz for that specific chakra, and that's why music makes us feel better. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why when we are upset or unhappy, we listen to certain types of music because it actually hits a certain part of us that helps raise our vibration when we listen to certain types of music when we're feeling down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all has to do with that vibrational connection. Everything that we do with ourselves is connected. You know?
Everything at all times. And like that actually brings up a perfect thing where it's in music, there's the vibration, like you said, there's the resonance of these different notes, the different
Yeah.
vibrations, and some of them will be in harmony with each other, some will be in dissonance and kind of just sound ugly and weird, you could say.
Yeah.
And same goes with our energies, where, we'll, in our consciousness and our fields, we will resonate with other people sometimes on the same things, and sometimes there's a dissonance with them. And that's perfect because we can also look at those dissonances and actually see like what's out of alignment in ourselves that's
Hmm.
like bringing up this feeling of a tension or an uncomfortableness or like there's like doesn't feel like there's something landing of a connection. That can be like something we can look at inside of ourselves and to check our systems and to see like, yeah, what's in resonance, what's not. So like music is a perfect representation that everything is interconnected because of that. Like it's just based on vibration, it's based on frequency, and it affects the life and the environment around us. It affects our bodies at their particular frequency or vibration at a cellular level, at the water level in our body, that goes into
Oh,
the
the
cellular
water.
level.
Yeah. That's what goes back to exactly what I was saying in the beginning. How it's almost like a fog. We can't see this
Yeah.
fog, but this connection of the entire planet is blanketed with these water. And that's why we have water in our atmosphere. It's the fog and it's connected to us. And so when we say, if I say something to you that's not positive, you're gonna feel it because that's just the water in us responding to the vibration resonation. It's all connected to our chakras and our energy, and that's why you can feel a pang in your heart when someone says something that's not nice. It hurts here. Why is it hurting here? Why doesn't it hurt here? Why doesn't it hurt here? Well, eventually it will branch out and it'll start hurting other parts of us if we don't do something with it. If we
Hmm.
just let it kind of linger. But we're all connected on the entire planet and along past the planet too. We have all of this, the moisture in the air. It's actually along with the cosmic string, the webs and everything. It's all how we connect. And so it's kind of the sort of the same thing if you put water on the floor and you put a live wire on the floor, it's gonna knock everybody standing in the way. You
Yeah.
know, it's just kind of the same thing. It's when we play music, when we talk or anything, is just any type of sound, any type of vibration, or even a spiritual action with no sound. and everything does have a sound, it's just not audible sometimes. But if we meditate and we send over a conscious thought to somebody, that's all because of the connections that we have. So, it's just people need to understand that we are actually connected in that same manner, but we were taught that it's not,
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't work that way, and that we are all separate entities,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're not separate entities at the end of the day. It's just that they want that separation, and that's the same thing with the Christ consciousness. They want us separated from all of that, because then we're left vulnerable, and when they can do that, they can pick on us. So the Matrix will do anything they can to pick on us and separate us from Source as much as they possibly can, with various means, including, drugs and alcohol, negative attitudes and emotion, whatever they put into us.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it all goes along with how the vibration goes along with what the connections are. And that's why we have to be mindful of what we say to other people and how we feel and how we handle things. And I know I'm
Right.
guilty of sometimes messing up on that.
Yeah, it's so true because like literally everything is connected by water though on this planet. It's so true. Hi, Cora. It's like everything is just look in nature. Like it is water that's everywhere, interconnecting everything. Like the mist in the air, like you said, like it's literally just like a carrier wave of information, of consciousness, of energy, of electrics, and magnetics. Like just how like those atoms resonate and radiate together. Like it just water can carry anything. It's programmable and can become anything. It's a liquid crystal in that sense. So therefore, everything that we speak on a vibrational level, like even our voices have this magnetic and electric resonance to it, that can then charge the water in our bodies and therefore like into the body of another because we're receptive to each other's feelings within our inner electromagnetic torus energy field. Like within that, then we start to feel that within our own water of our body into the cells of our body, and then it goes to their respective centers of organs and chakras that are meant to like receive those informations and communications on an emotional level, like you said, with the heart, and then it can like radiate to different points of where it's like meant to process that particular emotion or that particular
Yeah.
energy, that particular thought goes to those different points where we start to notice the feeling, and it's
Music is
so.
medicine. Music is absolute medicine. That's
Oh my
why
god.
when somebody starts playing music and people start crowding around, it's not just because the music is beautiful, it's because somewhere in us we needed those vibrations and those notes to heal something that's in us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't realize it though. We just think we're crowding around because the music is very beautiful and we want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something in us that's drawing to it, because how come there's other people that walk by and go, I don't want to listen to that. So it's if we need something, then we are going to be drawn to it.
Mm-hmm. If we need, that's like a perfect quote right there. If we need something, then we're going to be drawn to it. And it's so true.
Yeah.
It's simple as that. If we actually allow ourselves to answer those calls, then we'll just receive everything we need every moment. And will actually bring us
Yeah.
more present in moments to like let go of anything of past or present or past or future and actually be here and then start to like live from that more connectively and more aware. And like I think that's just why it's so important for people to tune into themselves, doing that inner work, and become more conscious of the subtleties, more of your whole being, like your energy body, so that you can feel and be more consciously aware of how things are affecting you and how you are affecting
Right.
others, how they're affecting
Yeah.
you with anything done in spoken action, in spoken word or action, vibration, whatever it is, like you can notice how that feels and then like begin to choose your reality accordingly in the way that's best for you and best for those
Right.
around you.
Yeah. So that's why when I say that, you're going to be drawn to what you need. But on the other side of the coin of that is you have to ask why you need that. So what if you're drawn to alcohol? You know, then why do you feel you need that? You have to
Hmm.
ask yourself that. So there's, you know, people believe that they need the substance, or because they're looking for something to substitute what it is that they actually really truly need. And this is
Hmm.
where the meditation would come in, that you can ask yourself and have a round table and ask, why am I drawn to another glass of whiskey? Why am I drawn to, doing drugs? Why am I drawn to wanting to do something negative to somebody? Ask yourself that, and also ask yourself, what can I do to actually make that better? As in, how can I turn that around to something to fulfill that need without needing the negative version of it? What's the positive version of it that I actually need to
Mm.
fulfill that? Because a lot of times people will pick the negative version because it may be more graspable, may be easier to grab. It's right there, it's in front of you. But also the positive is in front of you too. But a lot of times people don't want to grab for that for some reason. So I just feel that if you need something that's not really good for you, and good for you and bad for you is also subjective, because sometimes you need that lesson. So that was good for you to know, okay, well, having this X amount of drinks is definitely going to buzz you up, and it makes poor choices while you're under the influence. That may be the lesson that you needed to learn. Now, the next time you feel you need to have that drink, for example, what can I do to turn that around so I don't need that drink? What am I lacking inside me that's making me reach out for that?
Exactly. It's so perfect. That's exactly like the point I wanted to bring up along with this too. Oh my God, it's like what are you lacking, or like what's the wounding or the trauma or like this negative pattern loop that you're in your inside of yourself that's just like just highly uncomfortable. It's painful. It's something that you just haven't looked at, and
That's why
like
you need to do the shadow work. That's why it's important.
right. That's exactly why. Like it's like that's really the main thing of the inner work. It's like the foundational level. Well, I say it would be more important to like connect with your soul first and who you are, and then start doing shadow work, so you have even more of like a semblance of like
Yeah.
where that is connected to and like where to go to through that in a sense. But like the shadow work is the thing that like absolutely will free you and liberate you and get you to understand and know yourself more.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get anywhere if you're going to be snorting in rainbows and pissing out glitter. I
Yeah,
mean,
right. You're
as,
not.
as nice as it sounds, but, there's people out there that believe that they just need to keep their vibration up and keep all
Hmm.
the sunshines and the roses. You have to also do the work of what's in your life that's not so, sunshine and rosy. We're gonna have stuff that's inside of us. We're gonna have trauma. We're gonna have dealings that we had, and trauma comes in all types of levels and shapes and sizes. That's why I try to teach people the anchor meditation, because it allows you to deal with what you have that's dragging you like an anchor. If you're going to be dragging you like a ball and chain, and it's
Yeah.
going to be, it's the baggage, it's the luggage, and once you let them go, and there's always going to be new ones in place. So you got to work with a past one. This is what I do per day. Per day, I work with a past trauma, and then I work with a current trauma. So a past trauma is maybe something a bully did in school. So why do I have this issue with, hanging out in locker room areas? Well, because I've been shoved in them when I was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
So there's that trauma. Now, a current trauma would be, well, if I was at the grocery store and I have to deal with a Karen yelling at me, then I have to deal with that. It's kind of like you gotta clean out the closet, but at the same time, you gotta keep the rest of the house clean as well.
Yeah.
You kind of doing on both ends. Eventually, the closet will be completely cleaned out. Then all you gotta do is then keep up with the house, on the outside of the closet. So it's the same thing with us. Over time we will get through the traumas in our past, and then we can deal with the things that are going on currently. And we got to keep up with it though, because if it that can collect, and any of the current stuff that collects, is you're going to be back in the same wheel of all this upsetment and negative attitude behavior and how you handle your daily life. And that's why there's people out there that have this gruff, angry demeanor, if you will, because they didn't work on whatever it is they need to work on. They just let it build up, and then the next person's going to end up being the victim of your pissed off day, if you will.
Mhm. Mhm. God, that's so perfectly said. That's so
Yeah,
perfectly said. It's exactly that. Like, that's it. That's like the core, the root, the core, the true thing that we need to do. Like that's where we need to bring all of that love and light and sparkly rainbows is into the shadow work, you know? We gotta like actually be there in this stuff, cleaning out the closet because that light and that energy and sparkliness is there as like the cleaning agent to help you wash it all up, you
yeah,
know? It's like it's gonna help you like move the energy and like recognize what's really going on and then start to bring that and into your whole being and access that as like a new light or a new awareness or a new tool you can use to clean up the rest or to continue the maintenance. And it's
yeah,
that's so real. It's so real, like cleaning up the past, maintaining that now and evermore because that'll just like it clears your whole energy body, allow you to clean, literally carry that into your life and clean your own house and your physical environment as you clear your inner psyche and your energy body and everything else and your physical body. You can bring that to your physical environment and actually start to emulate the same thing, you know, and reflect the same thing. And that will help all the energies to stay clear, crystalline, and like moving in a greater structured way, like providing the structure for coherent, healthful energy to move. And then we take that, like you said, like we're always bringing anything we have to anybody. So if we can bring like that work that we're doing in ourselves to our daily interactions, like we'll notice how we change with how we interact with people, and people will notice how like we are also altering and changing. Like there's something different. There's something different that feels a certain way, you know, than it did before. There's just like you're acting different, you know, you're presenting yourself differently, like
yeah,
what's going on? And then that just instantly affects them, gets them to maybe go through those questionings, and then maybe that can lead to things inside of them subconsciously they're not aware of. That's like connecting where they need to clean up as well, or you can connect and talk to them with them about it if they bring it up, and that can help them to also start to process their own things, whereas maybe they weren't aware if that's a thing you need to do, you know,
yeah.
at that moment. But it's
And I
it's
think you've
such
seen it. Yeah, I think you've seen other people, have kind of a grow up negative attitude, but over
um,
time, when they work on, they're more gentle, they're kind.
so
Kind of.
yeah, definitely I have. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, where people have more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So it takes work, but we need to be
Mm.
gentle with ourselves and be patient. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You didn't interrupt at all. But yeah, I agree. We do. Like that's been my basis of everything since I was like a teenager. I just recognized like we need more gentleness in this world. You know, we need like more gentle, slow care and awareness with each other to help us actually become our true selves more. You know, we need
Yeah,
it really does just help everything because I mean, yes, you could say like aggression or directness or like big energies like that can be helpful too sometimes. They can. And they have helped me before a lot in the past, where like maybe I was like too much in one spectrum of like this gentle softness and just like being slow with myself with something, but something else needed to be seen in myself or something really needed to move that I wasn't like giving the energy to actually move in myself if I needed to do that, or just recognizing it so it can itself start to resolve and move. And like somebody in
wow.
my
Yeah,
environment would reflect that back to me, you know, like this aggression, a very direct energy, this big, not so gentle energy, but it was something that helped me start really taking things seriously in myself, you know,
yeah,
whereas I wasn't before, you know. So that can also be a benefit. But there's a time and a place for everything, you know. But I often find that gentleness and just softness and really being sensitive to what's going on in yourself and with others can help things really start to recognize that there's underlying love and supportive energy that can help things actually start to resolve or start to move, you know, and like lift up from like it kind of gives us this light airiness that lifts up the thing that needs the love or needs like this looking at in the shadow to start moving and coming into the conscious awareness because you're preparing yourself in this open heartedness and this gentleness to care for this part of you that really needs that because it probably wasn't receiving that before, you
yeah.
know.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. That's very good. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been really, really, really awesome. Oh my God, thank you.
You. Thank you very much.
Mm, yes.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to chat with you. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. I'd love to do this anytime. If you want to ever do more, please welcome on. I'm sure everybody's gonna love this video. So okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Whoever watches this, whoever hangs out in the space, I hope there's something here that you can really just let be seen. You know, with the energies flowing here, something new you're learning. You know, if you have any questions about anything, please send them my way. You know, send comments here on YouTube or go to Instagram at Sovereign Gem Regenesis. Sovereign.gem underscore Regenesis is my main thing on Instagram where you can send questions, or sovereign gem embodiment at gmail.com is where you can send questions as well. And same for if Sue's open for that. I don't know. Are you for
Yeah,
like anyone sending
absolutely.
questions?
If anybody wants to find me, and I know my email's weird, but it's at burpbubbles, BURPBUBBLES 333 at gmail.com. And also leave a comment, link, right? Subscribe, right?
That's right.
And we always
Do
tell
all those.
everybody. Yeah.
There were definitely more of this to come. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be more. So thank you all. Love you all.
Yeah.
Just blessings and blessings to your journey, because in essence all of it really is, it's all just perfect. Trust it all and just like go into it, whatever it is that's in your life. Feel it, be present with it, don't avoid it, be real, be honest. Love you guys. Thank you.